Well, greetings and salutations, one and all, and thank you to everybody who's watching myself on LinkedIn Live and also via my YouTube channel on @LeeFosterOfficial. Yes, welcome to the Newpreneur Cast, my weekly show on YouTube and LinkedIn Live to really have the opportunity to meet many business owners, key decision makers, who are going to be sharing some stories, some top tips, and much, much more. Now, here's a question for you all out there today. Are you celebrating your milestones? And if not, why not? Are you recognizing those small wins in business? And how are you literally looking to take those in place to hit the goals and objectives that you want to achieve? But you have to celebrate them, correct? Even if it's so many years in business or if you're getting that mega deal over the line. Now, this week, I've got the great pleasure to welcome along a lady who has her own podcast channel, who's been helping many business owners from across the globe, across the pond in many places, by looking at their business in more detail, but sharing some great advice, some great strategies, some great learnings along the way. Can you please welcome with me today my guest for the Newpreneur Cast, and that is Karin Holley of Karin Holley Coaching. Karin, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, Lee. Thank you for having me today.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. So we were chatting a few months back actually about this. Um, have you celebrated any milestones over the last few weeks?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, before actually maybe going into my own
Yeah.
celebration, um, I'll tell a little bit more about what I do. So I'm a
Oh,
leadership and mindset coach, and so this whole idea of celebrations is really key, is
mm,
really important to me. So it's almost like for me, it's almost like daily celebrations. And I do that even by giving myself little rewards.
oh,
So, um, little rewards like just going for a walk, because I really enjoy that. And that allows me, it helps me to see the positives of my day and what I've experienced. So, um, yeah, and some other celebrations are, for example, finishing a certain aspect of my new website, or yes, the fact that I've started this podcast and every episode is a bit of a celebration. Thinking, yes, I mean, I've been wanting to do this podcast for like the last 2.5 years, and I
wow.
and I finally got around to doing it, and it brings me so much joy. And I think so. Part of celebration is really doing things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that, yeah, that was the last thing. And just today was a little bit of a celebration of, and as I said, going just for a walk, enjoying the context that I made today, having the conversations that I've had with people today. Be like, yeah, okay, let me go for a quick walk and reflect on that.
Do you know you mentioned something there, right? Why did it take you 2 years? Because you're very, come across extremely well online. You're a great communicator, which I've seen many on your LinkedIn posts and everything else. But what was the stumbling gap for you to actually do the
Mhm.
podcast?
It was a thinking, I didn't know the purpose. I wanted to interview leaders, and
Hmm.
when I use the term leader, I use it very broadly.
Yeah.
So I think anyone can be a leader and is a leader. It's a matter of, are you leading your life? Are you, you have the formal leadership teams, of course, uh, but an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, is also a leader. A mother at home is a leader. So I think whenever you take the lead on something and you try and live that fulfilled life, I think that's incredibly important. So why did it take me so long? Was I was playing around with, I wanted to interview people, but I didn't know so much the purpose. Like, why was I interviewing them besides just me being curious, right? So it took me a while, and it wasn't until like December, January, where I just had this epiphany that most people come to me for coaching because ultimately, I mean, they come for a lot of different reasons, but ultimately it's to live a fulfilled life
Mm,
and to live authentically. I mean, why do so many entrepreneurs start their business is because they have a personal mission. They want to have an impact,
Mm.
and they're taking a big risk, right? It's much almost quote unquote easier if you
Yeah.
just have a job and get a salary. And so it's being able to do that in a way that is, yeah, supportive, and that you can figure out how to make it happen, I think is so important. And so that's when I was like, oh, the podcast is about authenticity and fulfillment,
Mhm.
and how we fulfill our life is different for everyone. So that's what I'm interviewing people now on. So it's often related to their personal mission, but also their own development. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it is still leaders that are in, formal big organizations, but
Yeah.
sometimes it is entrepreneurs who have their personal mission that they're working on. Yeah, so that's why it took me a while to figure out why exactly am I wanting to interview people.
Yeah. Do you know, again, what's interesting about that as well is that, and I think there's many entrepreneurs and solopreneurs are watching this today who may not even celebrate their personal gains. You talked before about going for a walk. They think they have to celebrate the businesses that they're doing, the sales that they're doing. But celebration is also more of taking time out for yourself.
Yeah.
You can go for a walk or celebrating that time out just for you. I think that's so important. I mean, you've just come from a yoga class. I guess that's a bit of a time out for you, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And my yoga class was putting on a little podcast, or like not a podcast, like a recording for
Yeah.
15 minutes of just like a body scan. That's it.
Mm,
And and I think taking the time to do these small things every day are so important, because as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of risk involved. There feels like grind. It's hard, it's challenging, and it can take time before you actually see results.
yeah.
And therefore, in order to build the resilience, this is again going back to the mindset bit, in order to build that resilience to go, the miles, you
Mm,
can't focus on like the finish line. You have to focus on the goalposts in between.
mm,
And those are tiny, tiny posts. They're daily ones. So for me, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't celebrate like once a month or so. Like, for me, it's daily, because then, and there's small things. Yeah, going for a walk, doing a relaxation, giving myself a cup of tea.
mm,
Um, these are small moments of telling myself I'm doing a great job,
yeah.
and celebrating what I've done that day.
Yeah. Do you know what's, again, it's that point that I speak to many people. Everyone thinks they've got, like, I know there's people out there talk about 90 days, they talk about the quarterly, the goals, the objectives that you want to achieve. But there's someone I was watching the other day or listening to as well, I was talking about like the daily journal and reflecting on your daily journal of actually going, okay, what's been your small wins today? Is it been making a couple of phone calls you got through to somebody, or reconnecting with somebody you haven't spoke to in 6 months? Touching base with an ex-work colleague that you used to work with for many, many years, or just grabbing a cup of coffee or time out with your partner or somebody just to take a time out for the day, have family, or speak to your mom or speak to your dad or speak to a family member, etc. as well. And I think that's, again, you touched on a great point there. It's the daily wins, but daily reflection. And, I think, what's your thoughts on daily journaling? Do you do stuff like that?
I have in the past quite
Yeah.
rigorously, and especially when I was just starting,
Mm,
or even before that, to really try and figure out what I wanted, where I was going. I probably should have reflected or like done some more journaling on that podcast. Maybe I would have done it earlier. Um, but absolutely, I think the daily journaling is recognizing and being very intentional
mm,
about recognizing those wins, because our brain is actually wired to search for problems and
yeah.
all the things we need to solve. So, I mean, that's great because that helps us survive, right? But
Yeah.
because of this, we have a negativity bias.
Hmm.
So, we need to be very intentional about highlighting positive things that happen during our day, because we tend to be consumed by the problems.
Mm,
And so that journaling can be like a daily thing that you write down. And there's, positive psychology has shown that like a gratitude journal really helps.
mm,
And that's where you can daily highlight these small wins. And sometimes the win is so tiny. Like the other day, I went to a networking event, and there was a bunch of people on the panel, and one of them was representing people who are neurodiverse. And she mentioned how sometimes the win is just showing up to the networking event, not even talking to anyone, but like just
that's a good
making it
point.
through the door,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I think that's awesome. So we also, the other thing we need to do is make sure we don't compare to other people, right? Those wins are personal,
yeah.
and we need to work with our own mindsets, with our own strengths, and challenges. And so we determine what those wins are, not anyone else. Yeah. How about you, Lee? I mean, I saw on LinkedIn, what was it, today or yesterday? You're celebrating a big milestone.
Yeah, and I'm taking time to reflect on. I'm taking the whole week to reflect upon it actually and reminisce. I've actually touched base with a few people, so thanks for asking, Karen. So, I'm celebrating my 8 years in business this month,
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
and I say this month. I mean, when I first started off back in 2017, you know, we had many challenges and hurdles that have came up between then and now. Like one was the lockdown and COVID and everything else coming into place. Looking at how to address online versus in person, etc., as well, and how long that was going to last for. Um, but also how to adapt, hustle, keep moving forward, keep sort of evolving the environment that I was creating and the whole vision behind the beginning. And it's thank you. 8 years down the line of having a business and still pushing forward and not just thinking of new ideas, but taking time out today. And I've been overwhelmed by the amount of messages that I've had through LinkedIn and Facebook, and I've shared it and I said thank you, and I've done shout outs and I've sent thank you messages, etc., to people who've been. I mean, I've still got members who have been part of the community since the beginning, 2017. They've been with me for 8 years, which is testament to them. There's been many that have been part of the journey in the early days who have had a real cause and effect of my journey, who still keep in touch with me to this day. And I think that's so important. It's always been about people to me, Karen. And it was nice just to reflect upon that. So it was a massive milestone for me.
Mm.
Um, Literally yesterday and then today, really. But it's interesting when you start thinking. I was actually at the first venue this afternoon for a cup of coffee with an RBC member, and we were chatting about my early days in Marquise, and he's like, "Wow, really?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." Just talk where we were and where we were based, and Marquise at the front of the Hamilton Park race course, and this, that, and the other. And, but it's taken time. I've took time out to reflect upon, and I'm doing that tomorrow. Really, just taking time just to give myself a pat on the back. And I've shown my appreciation to many, and they know who they are, who have been a massive support of me from the beginning.
Mm.
Because that first year, I mean, don't get me wrong, many people thought you're not last more than 3 or 4 years, really. And I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll see what happens. I knew for a fact I'd be past the 5 year mark, but that's just, yeah. Thanks for asking that, Karen.
No, but it is amazing. And I think the only way to kind of get to that moment, we all want to be at that 8 year mark or beyond. I think it's because I do think it's kind of a crucial, they say, between 3 and 5 years is kind of the make it or break it
True.
situation, right? But when you celebrate these small wins, it helps you to create that momentum of moving forward, because it also releases dopamine.
Yeah,
And when our brains are fed with more dopamine, we're like, "Ooh, I'm feeling good about myself, so I'm going to do some more of that." Right? So it's the celebrations are also work biologically
yeah,
to help us move forward and keep that momentum and the positivity, and also the more we focus on what is going well, the more we grow that area,
I 100% agree
right?
with you, Karen.
Yeah.
100% agree with you on that one. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of us don't take that time to celebrate what is going well. We're always focused on the challenge, what we're
Yes.
trying to overcome. We're always looking for that objective to try and achieve. And you go, well, now, hang on a minute, take a scale back for a second. We've all done that mistake. Just take time just to reset yourself and just look to where you are right now.
Yeah.
I've learned a mountain's worth of how to run a business, how to work, how to circulate the people that want to help you around you, because what makes your business really thrive is not just you individually, but it's also the circle of people you put around you
Yeah.
and how they elevate you and push you up. People forget about that so much. They forget about the people. I mean, I'm in a people business.
Mm.
I enjoy helping and supporting people and put people in the right direction. To give them momentum, give them confidence, to give them, motivation to push them forward and to grow their business, and through the power of networking in sales and business development. But business development and sales is all through business relationships, Karin.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
all about talking to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that I agree. As a coach, I agree. It is all about the relationship building that you do.
Mm,
Um, and I think there's something else there that when we, besides like this, the ability to move forward, when we celebrate, because we have these dopamine releases, it
yeah.
also puts you in a more positive mindset so that when you are creating those relationships with people, you're contagious. So your positivity
Yes.
radiates towards them. You become more attractive, so to speak, right? And so the sales goes easier. Everything. Yeah. So being able to put yourself in a more positive mindset by focusing on what's going well, by
Mm,
celebrating, can actually boost your business
yeah.
because of the contagion effect it has when you relate to other people, when you go to networking, when you have the sales calls. Um, when we are stressed and we start to focus on problems, it actually narrows our vision and we
Great.
struggle to be more creative. We struggle to problem solve. So, again, the biology behind just celebrating small wins is fascinating. And
Absolutely.
and I love the examples that you're bringing by you have created this really successful business by focusing on relationships and your positivity and you're boosting other people is people feel that and that's why they stay for 8 years and or they
But
stay in touch at least, right? So
yeah,
that's cool.
I think that it's so important, and I think as well, you talk about that, the relationship building with individuals, and it's a word I've used today quite a lot, is consistency, and people forget about that so much. It's a consistency of building up relationships, confidence and trust in individuals. As long as you can build confidence and trust in the individual that you're working with or just meeting with the first time, you're on the first stepping stone. And I love the way you say that contagious effect. I call it a domino. We heard the books and the snowball effect and the domino effect, etc. as well. But if you're treating people the right way, giving them the right experience, sharing that contagious feeling, that motivation, etc., why wouldn't they speak to other people about you
Yeah.
in a good light?
Yeah.
And that's something I try to endorse with many that's out there right now, is really to bring that to the fruition. But also, I think someone who touched on there briefly as well, just to touch on this, is that we've got many people around us who work with us. And it's not just about celebrating that time or those wins for you, it's celebrate them as a team as well. That is so
Absolutely.
important.
Yeah.
Recognize the people around you and celebrate them at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that again goes to the contagion effect because
Mm,
often I think our own successes, they are, as you've mentioned, they are built on other people as well. It's the support that we have gotten from others. So
yeah,
recognizing them, thanking them, taking some time to reflect on on the support we have received is so helpful. And it's really nice to say that to someone as
yeah,
well and
yeah.
be thankful. I'm curiously, how do you celebrate? You've made the like 8-year mark, but how have you gotten to your daily, weekly, monthly celebrations? What have you done?
Well, for me, I mean, everybody knows I like my golf, and a celebration for me is to get around a golf in when I can through the month. That's my little thank you to me and well done and pat on the back. The other side of it, though, is a dovetail because I'll enjoy the round of golf, but I always invite someone to come and play with me. A business owner. So it's a thank you to them, but it's also a thank you to myself at the same time. So it's the best of both worlds. Um, for me at the moment as well, I take time out through the week to spend time with family. And I'm really pushing on doing that more. So one day through the week is dedicated to a family day. And that is a thank you as well. That's a bit of a celebration of being busy through the week and just taking time out to reflect upon the people around me. That's what I really want to try and embrace even more going forward. Um, the material things you can buy yourself, this, that, and the other, but I think it's time is the best gift you can give back to
Mhm.
yourself. So for me, celebrating the win is giving some time back. Of going, do you know what? It's Friday afternoon. It's after 2 o'clock. I can go for a game of golf, and I'm going to go out and have a game of golf. But if I want to invite someone to come along with me, why not? And that's a wee little well done, Lee. You've had a good month or a good week this week, so go for it.
I love that you mentioned it's at least for both of us, it's not about buying something that is the celebration or that it is about sharing it with others, whether it's through golf or spending time with more time with family, um, and giving yourself that time, the self-care, the pat on your own back. Yeah, I did a good job today, or I did a good job this week. Um, that's
Self
really
care
special.
self care is really important, I think, as well. And we talk about the daily journal. It's something I'm going to embrace a lot more this week. I'm going to start reflecting more every day and jot it down somewhere. Have a dedicated book, or I've got an idea of how I want to try and record that so I can relate back to it. But taking the time, when people talk about woo woo and all this and everything else, is taking time just to manifest, you know, meditation, just taking time out, like, it's just 10 minutes in your day, just lock everything out. I've done this over the years, and I think I would like to try and get back to doing it again. It just resets the mind, settles, shuts down as much of the noise going on in your head at the time. Would you agree with that, Karen?
Absolutely. I mean, I have a morning routine that sets me up. So even that in itself is already for me, even if I don't do anything else, I've got my morning routine.
Yeah.
And that to me, it gives me such strength. So part of the reason why well, I've done some journaling, but what I do is I get up in the morning, have a glass of water, and then I either read something that's related to meditation, or right now I'm kind of reading some spiritual books.
Mhm.
That's where my interest is going. But I've
Yeah.
also taken that time to then do journaling. So I kind of alternate between reading something that I find is interesting, that sets me up for a right mindset to meditate.
Mm.
So then so journaling or the reading, and then I do breath work,
Yeah.
and then I do meditation. So all in all, it's almost an hour of
Wow.
real finding stillness and finding stability, because that's another way I think that we can deal with the challenges that come our way and still continue to, even, there's many as an entrepreneur. I don't want to
No.
say that there's not, and but for me, so focusing on what is going well, but also setting up a real groundedness and energy in the morning,
Mm.
so helpful,
See,
so
I'm in cold water therapy at the minute, so I mean, I've got a cold plunge pool I want to put in my back garden.
cool. Yes.
Love that. So, but
Yeah.
I'll be doing a cold water deep ice bath. Hopefully by the end of this month, I'll be planning it for the last Friday. I'm going to be doing it every month on the last Friday. Um, because I did it last month. It was amazing. But for me, like, my morning routine is, about 20 minutes of exercise, movement, stretches, this, that, and the other. I'm going to be adding into that, reflecting upon my previous nights or previous days, journaling to see what they were from the previous day, which sets me up for the day ahead. And just taking time out just to reset yourself. So that cold water, cold shower for like 3 minutes in the morning, just it just to me, it's sort of like the reset button we talk about. Hit the reset button, you're ready to go. I suppose if you want to call it like celebrating a little win, yeah, you'd celebrate that in the morning, I suppose, with that. People will probably think you're crackers actually thinking of a 3-minute cold shower as a celebration to yourself.
Yeah. Well, I
Would you?
do it too, Lee. That's, yeah. So after my meditation, then I do workout. should probably switch it, but that's the way I've got it set up right now.
Yeah.
Workout, and then I take the cold shower. I don't do 3 minutes. Um, and I have done that. I was so proud of myself. I did a cold, like, ice bath
Love it.
about a month ago with no prep. With, like, I had some coaching, and
Yeah.
I did it. And I think I was really quite nervous and skeptical about it. But that's another win. It's like I can do, for me, these things are like I can do hard stuff.
Yeah.
And the morning routines are also about I can be consistent,
Yeah.
because that's also something that you brought up. So if I can be consistent by in my self-care and in
Mhm.
my morning, that helps me stay consistent in the business part.
Love that.
Yeah.
I think with the ice bath, I mean, I was the same way like last month, which is why I'm going to be booking myself in. I need to get that booked actually this week. But last month, it was me and my stepdaughter did it. And it was a challenge. What I found the most out of it as well, Karen, right, was that it wasn't about the challenge bodily wise. I
Mm-mm.
could withstand the cold. Okay. It was 0 degrees. So it was ice cold. I mean, literally freezing. And the challenge was to stay in there for 10 minutes. So I stayed in for 12. And I think it was 12 because the guy and the lady was watching us and keeping an eye on us. They want to keep an eye on the temperature, and the guiding you through, they're giving you motivation and pushing you forward. What I enjoyed the most about it was the mindset, was blocking out your negative mind saying to yourself, get out of that water right now, compared to somebody in your head going, stay where you are, you're okay, everything's fine, concentrate on your breathing. Like, so when I concentrate on the positivity and the sort of that side of it, I slowed my breath work down, and I was getting guidance from the guy at the time, a chap called Kenny from the Polar Bear Club. And we just literally kept the breathing going really well. You know, and it just, my body all of a sudden, when I did the breath work, it settled itself down. It didn't feel cold as much. It was a revelation for me. That's a good word for me to use today, by the way. It was a cracking way of just, yeah, I feel good today. It just really put me on a good curve. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's really cool. And again, you're
I
challenging
like
your.
that. Really cool. I like what you did there. That was
Yeah.
really cool.
It was literally right.
I say that there. Yeah.
Yeah, true. But this is it, is that entrepreneurship is hard. It
Yeah,
is not easy. And so by training your brain and your body to be able to respond to hardship
mm,
in positive ways, whether it is through exercise or cold showers or the ice baths or daily journaling, or, again, to try and create some sort of a habit to keep the momentum going. I think that's foundational. I don't know. Well, I haven't asked all entrepreneurs, but I'm curious. I think most of them have some sort of a routine
mm.
that keeps them grounded. Well, the successful ones, at least, right? I'm assuming.
I think it's a great question to ask many people. I think that's going to be part of what I'm going to be chatting about. Really, I think this, you find out actually from a leader's perspective. What makes you ahead of the game. What keeps you ahead of. I think it's really important to look at. And if a good question to ask, if anyone's watching and listening to this right now, and you are an entrepreneur or solopreneur, what keeps you ahead of the game? What keeps your mindset in the right place? And if you feel comfortable, drop it in the chat area, especially if it's on LinkedIn Live and you're watching me and Karin now on LinkedIn Live. Just drop it in the chat in the feed, and it'll pop up on our feed, and we can see it as well. And we'll give you a shout out as well if you drop it in there. For YouTube, unfortunately, we can't see the comments on there. We can only see it on LinkedIn, by the way. So just drop it in there, a comment or questions for me and Karin in the feed there. That's a good point to share out with everybody, Karin. And also, if you've got it, just drop it into the comments so we can see it later on when we look back on this as well. But some of the high flyers, Karin, will probably do that on a daily basis. They'll have their regular mind. That's why it makes them so high flying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're just have lots of daily good habits that keep them with full energy. Because I think
Yeah,
that's the other thing,
yeah,
is besides having the positive mindset, is these activities like exercise, meditation, cold baths, journaling, they give you energy. And we need a lot of energy to sustain what we're doing,
I agree.
right? And
I
in
agree.
order, again, to be able to have also the good communication, the good relationships that our businesses are built upon, and
Mm,
that contagion effect, the ripple effect. So we need to start with ourselves
yeah.
uh, before we can offer services to others. We need to be in a really good place, uh, yeah, to be able to do that sustainably and consistently.
I love that. I think that's so important. Oh, you still there?
Yeah.
Hi, Karin. You back?
Yes, I'm still here. And I think the other thing that I think the other thing that it does is it builds confidence. So
Yes.
especially for entrepreneurs who are just starting, oh my God, when I started, I felt like huge imposter syndrome.
Really?
Um,
I was actually going to
yeah.
ask you that question because I was wanting to go back. So, in your first, if you could cast your mind back for that first 12 months, did you
Oh
feel
yeah.
imposter syndrome for 12 months or was it just in the infancy at the beginning?
I don't know. It comes and goes, and it's different in it depends on the context, I think
Yeah.
often. But for me, because I kind of transferred over to like a different type of career, right? So wasn't like I was kind of taking what I was doing before and then doing it on my own. I was actually transitioning, making a career transition as well.
Mm,
And I'm not from like an entrepreneur family. I've always had like salaries come in my bank account, never had to really think about
mm,
business or anything. And I also came from the nonprofit or like school educational sector. So I'm not
yeah.
commercial in that sense. So I mean, there was such growth and challenge, and the only way I sustained it, that I didn't give up after the first year, because like it was working on my mindset. I guess that's why I also become a mindset coach, because it and the training that I use is called positive intelligence. And this training that I went through as a coach, I think saved my business, or I don't think I could have done it
Mm.
without it.
So,
For me.
you know,
So
that's a really good point there, right? Everyone focuses on the materials that they need to run a business, right? The back office, the website, this, that, and the other. They forget so much. It's actually about you, that mindset, and keeping that momentum going for yourself. And they forget the thing you have to have all the shiny things with it. It literally comes down to you as an individual to get yourself in the right place, correct?
yeah, correct. And even like for me now, I've got sometimes the shiny things. I have the website, or I'm getting actually a new one, and I have ideas, I have the podcast, but ultimately I still run into, so still sometimes I
Hmm.
run into my own negativity bias. I'm like
Yeah,
feeling a bit down. I'm like, oh, it's not working. And then I need to like do some self-coaching. I need to go back to my positive intelligence training and get myself out of that funk,
yeah, yeah,
and remind myself. And that's why it's the best thing to do is do it on a daily basis, because then you can kind of stay out of the funk as much as possible, you
love
know,
that.
and celebrate those small wins and keep that momentum, keep the energy high.
Yeah,
And yeah, so in the beginning, when I had very few clients and I didn't know anything about business, and I was just like, what am I doing? um Yeah, I would go on these walks to calm myself. I had very high anxiety
yeah,
about taking this risk. What was it? Everyone in my family thought I was crazy. Like, why would you do that? Why would you give up a stable job
yeah,
for this? Because I'm like, I need to follow my passion. I need to, I want to try something new. I can always go back and find a job, but
yeah,
if I
yeah.
don't try this, I will always regret it. But I did need to work on my mindset, because
I love that.
again, I would have not made it
Mm,
without really building the strength in my mind to be able to deal with the challenges, to be able to deal with my own funk moments.
yeah. And you know what it is? I mean, it's again, we've not digressed ever so slightly. It's still talking about the momentum, talking about the small wins, but those small wins are those communications that you make with the first client you got on board. You know, I remember the first member that joined the RBC or came
Mhm.
along and experienced it and went, yeah, can I be involved? He's still with us now, actually. Do you know what I mean? And I know who he is. I'm going to mention his name online, but it's having that client. Then you got this idea that it goes. that's now come to fruition. The idea I had behind it is now starting to work. And it doesn't come from all the tools and gadgets that you got. It just comes down from you, Karin,
Yeah.
having that conversation, finding that area that you can successfully help them with their challenge, and then addressing it, putting it into place, and then let it roll. And then they tell other people. That starts to have a snowball, as we talked about, that ricochet, that effect to other people around you. Yeah, we overcomplicate it far too much sometimes.
Mm. And I think you're right. We spend a lot of time on the bells and the whistles, and whereas really, because especially solopreneurs,
Yeah,
they're selling themselves.
yeah, yeah.
So we need to sell our positivity, our energy, our coaching, our support,
So
um, our experience. And the only way we can do that is by yeah, staying positive. And how do we stay positive? We focus on the wins, right?
focus on the wins.
We
Focus on
focus
the
on the
wins.
wins. Yes, for sure.
I look at, like, just today. It's Monday. We're sitting at sort of like just after 5 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. I've looked back at my day. I've had a few phone calls. One of the wins for me is actually speaking to a couple of people on the phone today. God, that was great. I actually got through to them and spoke to them. And I could have quite easily not phoned them up, but I thought, no, they're on my list. I'm going to make those phone calls today. I'm celebrating that as a win because I made the call, I touched base, checked in, with someone, see what they're doing, what's going on at the minute. Brilliant. And the schedules that I've had today, I've hit them on the mark. Meeting with yourself this afternoon, bringing you along as a guest. Brilliant. That's a great win. I've got someone else now who's been chatting to me on my casting, on my YouTube cast, you want to call it. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. But again, yeah, it's those daily small wins, those activities, those things that we're doing, positive, personally, business wise. I think that's so important today. And thank you for sharing that with us today, really.
What about you, Lee? If you go back to your first year, like how did you deal with the insecurity, the risk, the
Wow.
challenge, the negativity bias that
Mm.
our brains go to and focusing on the problems and what's not going well? How did you handle that?
That's a really good question for me for a change, by the way, Karen. Thank you for asking that. For me, it's my partner,
Mm.
being the soundboard, someone who's looking from the outside, the third eye, you want to call it, the outside looking in, um, sharing information with them to say, what do you think? And then they tell me brutally what they are and where my head was at the time. So that's one aspect to me dealing with that sort of those areas. The other part that really helped me was when I'm not exercising or doing something physical, that's when things take a hold. Don't get me wrong, and what people forget about in business, what I dealt with was many challenges in there. I mean, one of the biggest ones that I had was when COVID kicked in. I had to shut down all of my locations. I had to postpone all my events, everything in person. And many people are watching or listening to this now that we had a lot of people in the marquees and the locations every single month. And I was starting to build up momentum of the membership. And I had to stop everything. Within
That's
40 hours, I was thinking, I need to make or break. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? That was a massive thing for me.
And
I
that's
just,
brutal, right? That's your like that's the core of your business. And
yeah,
in the beginning, like I don't know about you, but at least online didn't even occur to me. You know, now it's like a no-brainer. I coach online, right? And
yeah,
you do a lot of your networking online. But when it just happened,
yeah.
that's super
Yeah.
hard.
I knew about Citrix and I knew about online sort of training platforms, but nothing like of Zoom or Teams. And Zoom came to the forefront. I went, okay, let me see how this will work, and addressing it. I took a step back. I actually talked about this morning. I used a golf analogy, by the way, right? So the golf analogy to me is that when we hit a really bad shot, right, it's because we're trying too hard. You're overthinking it completely. And it was something that came on the golf course to me last week, actually, sitting chatting with one of my members, and went, we overcomplicate things far too much, and we do it in business as well. So when you pick up the wrong club, or you try and stand in the wrong place, and you swing through a bit more harder than you normally hit, the ball either goes different places, you lose it altogether, this, that, and the other. Sometimes when you step up to the plate and you're ready to take your shot, it's actually quite okay to take a step back take a breath, address the right way again, get yourself in the right position, get the ball in the right spot, get the club in the right part of it. Don't overthink it and just swing through it. Right? Just literally swing and hit the ball, and it'll go straight as a die. And when you do that, it's the same in business. When we're trying too hard and putting too much into it, it doesn't go the way we want it to go. And when I think back to then with me, with those doing like a jog or run or doing some physical exercise really resetted me. And also as well at that time in 2020 was thinking, right, what do I do? Right, take a step back, Lee, see what the options you've got available. It's either yay or nay. It's going towards the yay of actually going on with it. Speaking to a few people, converting it into an online platform, utilizing Zoom to start with. That worked really well. Transferring everything across to it to see how it works. That opened up the boundaries to me completely, because what happened was the likes of Canada, United States, further afield now opened up a border for people to come and experience what I did. And there was loads of things around that time. You know, we had different type of communication tools to use. There's one that started up the podcast revolution. It was something that we did as groups online. I forget what it was called again now. It's called something. The name's gone past me, but I'll come back to it at some point. Yeah, and I just embraced it. That was a challenge for me, and I just took a step back. I asked people around me what they thought. Lee, it's not going to work. Other people, wow, that's interesting. Give it a go, Lee. All right, give it a shot.
Yeah, so you used your partner as the sounding board, you're kind of your third eye, and exercise, and then also checking with others.
What other people thought? I mean, what's the harm in speaking to other people around you? Listen, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? Yeah, give it a go. I'm quite interested, Lee. Okay. Majority comes out, it's positive. Brilliant. Let's give it a go. It worked out quite well. And then at the back of lockdown that came, when we came out the other side, they were really keen to get back to an in-person perspective. So I decided to do a roadshow. And I did a roadshow of the local in-person meetings across Scotland and the northeast of England. And off the back of that, you know, one of my members gave me a great idea for a name, which is RBC Local. Thank you. That was Mr. J. Cram, one of my business growth ambassadors now. And I went, that's a great name. Let's embrace that. So then opened up one branch in Ayrshire, then duplicated it, and that worked really well. And brought the best of the early days and the greatest hits, and then worked on what people wanted now and built my own format and structure behind it. But do you know what the main thing is, Karin? You know this yourself. Just keep moving forward. Just keep doing it. Keep adapting to your environments. You know, people forget about that so much. They go, oh, it's not going to work, and they stop themselves. No, just adapt to it. Give it a try. You never know.
But what strikes me, Lee, what you're talking about, there's an element of creativity and courage to try and stuff that might fail.
Do you know, somebody said to me once, right, we'll digress here before we wrap things up, but they said to me, if you're not feeling uncomfortable, you're not challenging yourself. You heard that before?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where growth happens. So we cannot grow if we stay in our comfort zone. It's as simple as that. I mean, my background is in education. What we want to be is, you want to hit the sweet spot. You don't want to go too far, like do an advanced course of Chinese if you have not even the basics, right?
Lisa Geordie would not get on well with that, by the way. That just wouldn't work for me. Yeah.
So you need to stretch yourselves, but it's like through small steps, because otherwise you can get overwhelmed and blocked.
Yeah.
But also, if you stay in your comfort zone, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. True.
So you need to find your sweet spot in your growth and your learning.
I've just literally done that over the last 2.5 months. A new idea that I brought to bring into my fold and launch a different aspect as an extra addition to it. And I've had a couple of conversations over the last week, and I've tried it out, and it's worked really well. And, you know, it's a new step out, but I've embraced it. And, you know, it's made me feel a bit, I'm excited about it, because I'm feeling a bit nervous, like going on stage for the first time type thing. Going, let's embrace this. Let's give it a go. Let's push it out there. And it goes live on July the 7th. So
Oh,
I can't mention
exciting.
anything at all, you see, just yet until it's, I'll be sharing more around then. I'm speaking to many people at the moment as exclusive invites. So again, it's in person. So, but it's yeah, and I'm doing a month of abundance as well in July, but I'll talk further about that at some point as well.
Oh, that's nice. That's another mindset, right?
They're part of that. I think, okay, let's give something else a try. Let me just rock the boat.
Mm.
Be a trailblazer with that side of it. So
Yeah,
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 it's true. You got to feel uncomfortable to feel comfortable to move forward and to grow. I
yeah.
think I've learned a lot in the last few years because of that as well, Karen. Yeah,
Mhm.
brilliant.
Well, fantastic. And
Thank
I was, for me, I think the one thing that I want to work on is also I do a lot of online stuff, and I
Yeah.
also want to do something more in person. So I'm thinking of
Mm,
also creating a like a leadership retreat or a day or two.
nice.
Um, but yeah, so I think that was like my podcast seed. So this is
Love
my
it.
next seed that I need to plant,
Yeah.
and we need to take time and to think things through and let the so I actually have in my calendar a dedicated time for creativity, but I'm not very good at sticking to it. I end up, I'll be really honest, but I end up doing like admin or maybe some networking or meeting or coaching conversation. And so I'm not prioritizing the creativity. And I think it's holding me back,
Yeah.
because I kind of have this idea and I don't want to wait another like 2.5 years, right?
Do
How
it.
silly is that?
Do it.
Exactly.
Do it.
Exactly.
Put
Yeah.
a date in the diary. Put a date in the diary in 6 months' time that's when you're going to do a leadership retreat. You pick a venue that you're going to host it in. You pick how many people you want to be there. And if you need a speaker, I'll be lined up for if you want me to come across and be a speaker.
Awesomely. Let's do that. All
Done.
right.
It's in the diary, it's organized, and you just do it.
Yeah.
You can procrastinate about stuff far too much. If you've got I've got an
Absolutely.
idea book that I write down my ideas, right? So I've got an idea book and I've got a daily journal book I'm working on. But the daily idea book is I'll scribble stuff down or I'll put something on my phone, go, oh, it's a good idea, I'll just put that in there. Then I'll look back at it again, going, yeah, that'll work. And then I'll put a date in the diary and say, just give it a try. Just try it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But yeah, if you visualize you want it to happen, it'll happen. I'm going to hold you
Well,
accountable
now I've
online.
said it.
This is live, everybody. Leadership retreat. Karen's going to do
Yep.
one this year.
Yep. Now I've said it. Right. Yep.
Oh, you feel uncomfortable, don't you?
No, it's thinking about who again, similar to the podcast, like who is it for? What's the purpose? And really get that idea, that vision
That's
clear.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just pick out a list, phone them up, tell them it's happening, tell them to be there. This is what's included. Done.
Yeah.
Sounds easy, doesn't it?
Super easy.
It is. Do you know what people need to do more often now? And I'll mention this just to get the end. Pick up the phone and just speak to somebody and tell them. Just pick up the phone and just talk to them. It takes time, but just keep working your way through it and it'll just start to build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, lovely, Lee. You've actually, yeah, helped me today a little bit to move forward.
There
There
you
we
go.
go. There we go. Awesome.
Well, Karin, thank you so much for joining me today on the Newpreneur cast. I really do appreciate it. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today.
Yeah, me too, Lee. It was fun.
Yeah.
It's
It's
good.
nice
Thank
for
you
you to
for
ask
having
me
me.
some questions for a change as well. Brilliant. So everybody's watching and listening today, please don't hesitate in getting in contact with Karin. You can check it out at karenholley.com on our website. You can also find Karin Holley on LinkedIn. If you want any information in this feed, you'll see our LinkedIn addresses and things like that. Just connect with us, especially connect with Karin. Start the conversation and find out more, especially about the leadership retreat she's going to do this year as well. So you need to find out more about that, right? This year, it's going to happen this year. But from me and Karin, thank you so much for everyone for joining us today on the YouTube channel and the LinkedIn Live today. Thank you very much, Karin.
You're very welcome, Lee.
You're
Till
welcome.
next time.
You will do indeed. And everybody, don't forget to click follow or subscribe to the Lee Foster official YouTube channel to be kept up to date about what's coming up with many more Newpreneur cast interviews coming up over the next few weeks up till the sort of middle of July. So thanks again to everybody who's been watching and listening today. And as always, from me and Karin, why don't you just keep connecting? Just keep connecting, everybody, and keep having conversations. It's good to talk, isn't it? Take care, everybody. See you soon. Bye bye for now.
Bye.